Greetings. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show here live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. I'm Steve Deace down here inside the state-of-the-art studios for the Blaze because after we're done here today, we begin the storyboarding process for Nefarious Part 2. And we are very much looking forward to that. Believe Entertainment moved all their operations to the free state of Texas to get the hell out of, literally, the hell out of California. And so figured kill two birds with one stone. I could just do the show from here, say hello to everybody before Christmas, and then head on over and get to work on bringing you more nefarious content. If you are watching on Blaze TV, you can see Rob Eno, our colleague here at Blaze Media. He'll be joining us for the Deace Group here momentarily. Todd and Aaron are back there in Des Moines, and we'll get started on that here in just a few seconds. Next hour, we'll get to some Feedback Friday as well. If you want to get to some awesome coffee that is also made by a company that doesn't hate you, check out our friends over at the First Cup Coffee Company. They are a Patriot coffee company with freshly roasted beans delivered, whether it's ground or whole bean or pod or bulk 11. There's a flavor for every freedom-loving American. And they also put the roast date right there on the bag, so you know. Go to firstcup.com. Use the code DACE. Save an additional 10% off your order if you do that. And if you subscribe to them so that you get this coffee to you every month, you'll save an additional 10% off as well for the life of the subscription at firstcup.com. Promo code DACE. Again, firstcup.com. Promo code DACE. And with that, it is time for the Deace Group. Your weekly look at the week that was. Good to see you, Rob. It's been a minute since you've had a chance to do the roundtable with us. We're looking forward to it.
Excellent. I always like to do it when you come in studio.
I hope you've done your homework because we have not done ours. So
I did a little bit.
We are counting on you, Rob,
oh, geez.
to carry this.
Oh, no.
Yes.
We had the company Christmas party last night. I don't know how well that's going to work out. So,
you know what? It's too late to claim you're hungover. It's 11 a.m.
Yeah.
It's 11 a.m.
No, I stopped early. Aaron said I was going on, so I stopped a little bit early.
You're prepped. You're ready to go.
A little bit ready to go.
Who's more ready, do you think? Hunter Biden's attorneys or Rob Eno? Todd and Aaron, what do you think? Who's more ready right now?
Rob.
Yes.
Yes. He is facing 17 years, and they didn't even... That's in addition to the other stuff they already charged him with. This new indictment that came down last night, 17 years, and it doesn't even include the foreign lobbyist stuff that they could have really pinged him for.
Which they'll probably get to.
And I don't... There's just no way the Bidens can allow this to go to trial. I mean, just no way.
They'll settle. What's really interesting to me is the thing that they get you for is the falsifying the tax return.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I may or may not have not filed taxes and owed the money and then got equal with it a lot of the stuff that's on there at one point in time in my stupid life with my ADD, right?
Right.
But they just want their money.
Mm-hmm.
They want their money, but they don't want you to lie to them.
And it's not like the Bidens don't have the money.
Right.
What I kind of find fascinating about this is we went through an ordeal as a country for 3 years that Donald Trump was compromised because there was compromising video of him with Russian hookers that allowed him to essentially be a cudgel for Putin to infiltrate the American political system. And the whole time, of course, this false allegation was going on. It turned out that Hunter Biden was actually cataloging his own blackmail material with Russian hookers, right?
Right.
And so the other day, Donald Trump, when asked who he compares himself to, said Al Capone, right? Isn't that what he said, Todd?
Yeah.
Al Capone, I believe?
Yeah.
Well, what did Al Capone go to prison for?
Tax evasion.
Yeah, what is Hunter Biden going to probably need a pardon to avoid going to prison for?
Tax evasion.
So, I mean, there's a weird cross-pollination here. Whatever Trump is falsely accused of, Hunter Biden has done. Whoever Trump falsely accuses him or compares himself to, Hunter Biden actually is the comparison, right? But here's the other thing, too. The idea that he created this hermetically sealed environment for all these shady dealings and it never crossed over into Corn Pop's realm whatsoever is just not. It's just entirely unbelievable. To me, this is we're going to get to the Deace Group here in a minute, but this was breaking news last night after we had the rundown. I thought we had to address it if you guys are okay.
Right, yeah.
The thing that this to me is a co-op. It's a dual op. It is Operation Fig Leaf All right. And it's Operation Get Out. Let me work back to front. Operation Get Out. The system is saying to the Bidens, you have to go. Your usefulness has run out. We can do this the easy way. We can do this the hard way. But you have to go. Your brand has reached a point of diminishing returns. Not even our media necromancers who resurrected you before Super Tuesday back in 2020 can probably carry you across the finish line this time. All right. So I think this is clearly an attempt to push the Bidens out on one hand. So it's Operation Get Out. And then it is Operation Fig Leaf. Because next year, when they convict Trump in Washington, D.C. next spring, and they arrest him and try to put him in prison, they're going to point to this and say, hey, this is the way the system works. There is no two-tiered form of justice. You know, we actually went after Hunter Biden first. All right, we made an example out of him first. All right, and so this is the fig leaf, and the fear is that for me is the normies will look at that. The same normies who look at everything else and just seem to we can't seem to expose enough evil to get them off the sidelines and into the fight. They're going to look at that, and that's my fear anyway, and say, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. That seems fair. You got Hunter Biden too. Okay, yeah. I mean, they're all corrupt. I hate them all anyway. So, back to my, Pleasant Valley Sunday. That I believe that is what is happening here. Thoughts? Let's go around the room. Rob, I'll start with you.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been on your program and have said that they're going to find a way to get rid of Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. And this, I think, is just another step. And I could see some Democrats voting for the impeachment inquiry after this comes out, right? Just, oh, no, we did it. What do we always say about Richard Nixon? Mm-hmm. That it was the Republicans that forced him to get out of office, right? And that the Republicans are different than Democrats because we force our people to get out of office.
Howard Baker was said to have made the famous call that it's time to go.
Is that, and I think you're going to see that with the Bidens. And I think... Donald Trump going to prison is going to be if he does, and you seem to think he does.
If they cannot delay the trial in D.C., he will go to prison.
Right. I think that they'll probably get the trial delayed, but if they don't, yes. And I think that that's just going to throw the United States into interesting times that I really don't know if I want to live through. But yeah, this Hunter stuff, and they are getting Hunter on. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of people that have misdemeanor tax stuff don't get charged, right? Because they want the money. And that's, I think, what Abby Lowell, which is Hunter's lawyer, is saying is, look, we paid you last year. Normally when we pay you, this all goes away, right? That's kind of how this works. You don't come back and get us. So they claim that he paid. But I think
they need the fig leaf.
They need the fig leaf, exactly. Yep. And I think that the thing that they're going on, like I said, is filing the false tax return. Mm-hmm. You cannot file and then file and get right, and they're fine, right? Mm-hmm. But if you file a false tax return, that's where they get you every time. I know people that this has happened to, people that had gambling problems, all kinds of things. You file that false tax return, and that's where they get you. And they always say the same thing, like they say with Hunter. He was living a lavish lifestyle and using his thing for hookers and blow and gambling and all of those types of things. They even
itemized how much money he was spending on hookers and blow. It's right there in the indictments, actually.
Yeah, it's
Zero Hedge,
insane.
by the way, tip of the cap to you guys, put out my favorite chart of 2023. They put out a perennial chart of that was cataloging Hunter Biden's hooker expenditures by year. I thought that was very very poor taste, but I loved it. So thank you.
Did he use, how some people, I haven't seen it yet, but they do the infographics, and did they use like little pictures of hookers to show how many hookers
they did not? They did not, but the bar graph goes up and goes down, if you know what I'm saying.
I'm saying, okay.
All right, so Todd and Aaron, your thoughts back there in Des Moines.
So I think the Biden family is so shameless that even this might not dissuade them from running again in 2024. They're just that level of shameless. This entire saga should show you that they're this level of shameless. So will it, are there going to be a critical mass? Is there going to be a critical mass on the left in Washington, D.C. to forcibly remove him? I don't think the answer to that question is yes either. So I think that, this is a fig leaf. Yes, definitely. But is this all, time to go? Yes, but I don't think maybe that will have much of an impact.
I agree with everything that's been said so far. It might be any number of things because everybody in this equation is shameless. So the only variable I'll add in is Operation Full Fascism. We've already seen through dementia and pure pride and whatever, Joe Biden be leveraged to believe in transgenderism and to believe in the pandemic of the vaccinated. If they decide they want to go the other direction. They don't want him to necessarily exit, but they want to go full I am the Senate, and they can convince him to do it. And then no better, they get the best of both worlds. They get the carnage, whatever that means. Plus they can say, well, it wasn't really me. Joe Biden kind of went rogue at the end of the day. And if we don't think that's a variable we need to consider these days, I don't know what we've been watching the last 3 or 4 years.
This goes back to the debate also that Duchamp and DeSantis had last week. It was very clear there was a summer-fall rollout of Gavin Duchamp as I'm in the on-deck circle. I'm warming up in the bullpen. I'm ready to go. And he gets a real test and goes out there and gets absolutely freaking obliterated, both by Ron DeSantis and Sean Hannity just showing him official government statistics. Saying, I don't have a question. These are the official stats. What's your reaction? Okay. And those two things they also don't have an obvious pivot at the moment.
Right.
That was their obvious pivot.
Right.
And they don't have that right now, But, I watched this party and its media acolytes literally resurrect Joe Biden from the dead right before Super Tuesday to win states he never even visited to avoid Bernie Sanders becoming their nominee. So I would put nothing past these people whatsoever. So on the shameless point, I think that is correct. But this is absolutely now, this is all the political cover that they needed to, you have to understand, if you're watching or listening to us, these people do not care what you think, and they think you are their enemy. So you can get all the angry when they arrest Trump and everything else next year. You get as angry about it as you want, pissed off as you want. They don't care. What they're trying to do is stop your normie neighbor, who also kind of doesn't care. They're trying to stop him from suddenly caring. Caring, not Karen. They're trying to stop him from suddenly caring, and so they need a fig leaf. We can't just create a martyr here. And no, we're cleaning up the corruption of government. And we went after both the Bidens and the Trumps, and this is, these are corrupt families and they've got to go. That's what's going on here. This is a fig leaf. All right, let's get to issue one. The real issue one. Bleep Lord Nefarious says.
At MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
That would be investigated as harassment if pervasive and severe.
We're dinks. We go to Trader Joe's and workout classes on the weekends.
And trans students participate in sports for the same reason as their kids, because it is fun, because it creates belonging and community, because it teaches so much about persistence and leadership and discipline, unless they learn to lose gracefully, hopefully.
At Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
We're dinks. We get into snobby hobbies like skiing and golfing.
We ought to be transitioning out of coal. There shouldn't be any more coal-fired power plants permitted anywhere in the world.
Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
We're dinks. We can go to Florida on a whim.
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals. If I was the government, I'd close it down.
We're dinks. We're already planning our European vacation next year.
I look up right now. It's because I've been sobbing. I was just talking with customer support with my bank. I was calling about some bank stuff. The lady, was super nice. So she called me Mr. Carter, which is, my voice is deep, I get it. I was like, oh, actually it's Miss Carter. And she's like, oh, sorry. And then she just proceeded to call me Carter. But she kept saying sir, and it is accidental, and she didn't correct herself. But at some point during the call, I just started sobbing.
Dinks, we get a full 8 hours of sleep, and sometimes more.
Happy Friday, but can I ask you a serious question? How is it 2023, and this, I'll show you in a minute, is what we are saying the majority of families look like? This is the majority families. Don't get me wrong, there are families like that, and those families have plenty of things dedicated to them, movies and books and holidays and all the things. Why, like, if we're really getting serious about what people think teachers are doing in the classroom, why is that on a book?
We're dinks. We get desserts and appetizers at restaurants.
I love you, Joe Biden. Thank you for everything, Joe Biden. I'm a good person. I want to be a good person here in the United States.
We're dinks. We can play with other kids and give them back.
All right, first question, Rob, as the guest on the panel, it goes to you. What was the most despicable thing you just saw?
All of the above? Like, that's a good one, Aaron. That one was just... I was going to go with Mein Context, Harvard. I was going to go with that, but the Dink one was kind of funny. You know, you keep going.
And the fact her name is Dr. Gay. I mean, come on.
I know. I'm trying to process them all. It was like so much.
Yes.
That I was trying to process everything that was said and
we do this every day, Rob. Think how we feel.
Yes.
We're barely holding on.
This is why we're like this, Rob. You knew me before this all started happening.
I know
this
you were a happy-go-lucky
This is what happened to me, Rob.
I know.
Yes, this is what happened to me. Mainlining this sludge every single day for a living. This is what happened to me. Yes.
Oh, that's yeah. It just. The one I think that I laughed at the most was the female, I guess, with the deep baritone voice, wondering why he kept...
The prominent Adam's apple.
I come from, the Merrimack Valley of Massachusetts, like Jay Leno. I can have a high-pitched voice if I get excited, and I've been called ma'am at a drive-through window with a tinny thing before, and I don't sob and cry. It's like, yeah, I know, I got a high-pitched voice. It's just... The person can't see you. And even if they could see you, I mean, I guess you identify as rainbow hair. I mean, I don't get
nowadays that. That's also you identify as probably somebody's first grade teacher as well.
Right, and that was a beautiful one too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're saying that we're indoctrinating kids. How am I indoctrinating kids with this book? We're indoctrinating them to normalcy.
Right.
Yeah.
Todd and Aaron, what say you?
You are so on the nose, Steve, when you said that her name's actually Dr. Gay. This stuff is... It's like in Star Wars when Lucas doesn't try to hide it. The villains are Lot Dodd and Newt Gunray. Both with the dinks, the dinks, and at the end that teacher and their mannerisms, their affect. It's like they are the skit. Saturday Night Live in its best days, it used to then, overdo everything, with the Bush Gore, with their affect to make it in the extreme. But you can't even make a skit extreme anymore because reality is so extreme. These people are they are outside of reality, and their goal is to actually be the skit. They're just so proud of being just untethered from anything and everything that resembles sanity.
That's the end of Romans 1. These are people who delight in creating new ways to do evil and encouraging others to do the same. Aaron.
The teacher is probably the worst for me because she is probably more ubiquitous than anything you saw there. I do like Dr. Gay. My name's Dr. Gay, and I have a doctorate in gay. That's probably what she has her doctorates in. But the teacher there, she says that, the white, heterosexual, straight families, they have plenty of content dedicated to them. When was the last time you saw, she said books and movies and TV shows. When was the last time you saw a commercial that depicted a white, hetero, happy family? Oh, wait. A commercial. Just a commercial.
It was actually, it was interestingly a Midwestern Chevy dealer commercial. I don't know if have you seen this Midwestern Chevy dealer commercial with the mom with Alzheimer's?
The
white family. Yeah,
they debuted that. I thought it's like the Super Bowl or something.
Oh, right, but it was it's not like a Chevy commercial. It's a Midwestern dealership commercial selling Chevys.
Yep.
And that one was fantastic. That's probably the last one. But yeah,
they might be the last ones.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, we'll do the exit question. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being how much you trust the College Football Playoff Committee to do right by the players, and 10 being how much you trust Lindsey Graham to do the players. Rank this week's level of total depravity, Rob.
I'm going to shock the panel. I usually do a 5. I might do an 8 because I couldn't figure out which one was more depraved. I'm going to not do my normal answer, and I'm going to go with an 8.
That might be your highest grade ever. Aaron?
10.
10.
Todd?
10.
That was absolutely a 10, without question. Our friends at Patriot Mobile, they have been on the vanguard of helping us to develop the parallel economy. That in a lot of places we wish that there were options to not do business with people who hate us. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of those. But one of those that we do, and it is fully realized, is in the mobile phone industry, and that just so happens to be a product all of us pretty much need to use here in modern America. Make the switch today to Patriot Mobile. If you're a veteran or first responder, when you go to make the switch, let them know. They've got extra ways to say thank you for your service if you do. Our family made the switch to Patriot Mobile. We put it off for several years. Even when I talked about it on the air, we were putting it off because we just thought it'd be a big hassle. Then one day T-Mobile said, hey, we're going to start censoring text messages if they have quote-unquote COVID misinformation. And I literally just finally called Patriot Mobile that day and said, hey, we're coming. We're making the switch. And we haven't regretted it ever since. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team makes switching easy. You can keep your number, keep your existing phone, or for a limited time, get a free smartphone from Patriot Mobile. If you go to patriotmobile.com/Steve or call 972-PATRIOT and use the code Friday76. Again, Friday76. If you want a free smartphone, if you make the switch today, limited time offer, free smartphone, code Friday76 at patriotmobile.com/Steve, or you can call them at 972-PATRIOT. All right, let's get to issue 2. Darling Nikki.
This week, it was revealed through the publishing of an independent audit of Disney's former special governing district in Florida that, surprise, when you give corporations special governing privileges, it results in a lot of corruption. But Nikki Haley, during DeSantis' fight with Disney, wanted to bring Disney to South Carolina.
And if Disney would like to move their hundreds of thousands of jobs to South Carolina and bring the billions of dollars with them, I'll let them know. I'll be happy to meet them in South Carolina and introduce them to the governor and the legislature that would welcome it.
Then there's this video resurfaced this week showing Haley during her stint as governor speaking in front of a Chinese flag and telling CCP-aligned business leaders,
I now officially work for you. There is nothing that you can need that we won't make sure that we deliver.
And who could forget this just a couple of weeks ago when she called for the doxing of every American with an anonymous social media account?
They need to verify every single person on their outlet and I want it by name. Because when
what about Smug? Does he qualify?
I've provided them with my government.
If Smug is on your driver's license, then, and look, you can put Smug in parentheses, but I want everybody's name.
And to top it off, she's the identity politics candidate, as Vivek pointed out the other night.
And Nikki Haley's campaign launch video sounded like a woke Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. I reject the use of identity politics in this party. It has been a cancer coming from the left, and I'm sick and tired of the double standards the people of this country are too. Having 2 X chromosomes does not immunize you from criticism.
Pro-Disney, pro-choice, pro-forever war, pro-Chamber of Commerce, immigration. I mean, Aaron didn't have time to even put in that clip from your home state of New Hampshire there, or your neck of the woods to say in New Hampshire, you're a Massachusetts guy, but basically it's a suburb. And saying, hey, we're going to let all the immigrants in to have them take the jobs from you that we already shipped away from you overseas, right? So pro-censorship. What exactly is Nikki Haley's constituency in the Republican Party? Todd, I ask you.
You've talked a lot lately about Conservative Inc. and how much of it is just financially tethered to Trump. I think this is the exact same story, but she's just financially tethered to all the people that over the years, the boards, the people she hobnobs, whoever she was, whatever she believed, whatever her ideals were. When
the old corporatist Republican Party, you mean, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's just the water she's been swimming in for so long. It's just that she doesn't... I really think, this is my point, I think she believes all the things she says, unlike Vivek. That's why I don't trust her. I just think this is who she is now.
Aaron.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that too much. She is her. If you want a crosstab or maybe an amalgamation of her supporters, it looks like a guy whose first name is John and last name rhymes with Thasek. That's her support base. As you said, I think it was yesterday, there's 10 to 12% of the Republican Party that hates the Republican Party, and that's who her support base comes from. It is the old school. I mean, she embodies everything that was rejected about the Republican Party in 2016 with the ascendancy of Donald Trump. Not saying that not necessarily Donald Trump ended up embodying what we really truly desired as an alternative to the old corrupt establishment of the Republican Party, but she is the embodiment of the old Republican Party. It's basically managed decay. We're going to play and use all of the leftist games like identity politics. I still contend that what Vivek did there, yes, he's annoying AF, but what he did there in absolutely demolishing the identity politics that she tries to play, which the old corporatist class would love to continue to play because really they're just leftists on the inside that for whatever reason the Republican Party is their opportunity. It's just Democrat light. It's liberal light. I keep saying this. She much like Governor Newsom, when she's brought up, when her record is brought up, she has no choice but to lie, and she has to lie. Nikki has to lie because she's really liberal.
All right, I'm going to go right to the exit question here because I want you to have time to answer it. We got about 3 minutes here in the segment, Rob, but you're uniquely qualified to answer this question, so I want to make sure you've got time to get to it. Does New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu endorse Haley or DeSantis in his state's first in the nation primary? There's a lot of speculation about that. I don't know what it is now. A year ago, his approval rating in the state was like 71% or something. So his endorsement has some value. I don't know how much, but clearly has some.
I think he's still. I think if he would have run again, he would have won. He decided not to win.
So you know that area well. It's your neck of the woods, right? Your stomping grounds. What do you think?
It's probably going to be Nikki Haley
because that's his heart. He's that kind of Republican, basically.
Unlike his dad. I mean, I think his dad is a little bit more. A little bit more hardcore than I think he is. But they're Bushies. And you know, he may follow the lead of Jeb. I don't know if Jeb has endorsed DeSantis yet or not. He may follow Jeb's lead. We'll see, because I think at the heart, the Sununus are Bushies. You know, and that's the wing of the party. I think that Nikki, you asked what wing of the party. I think it's the old school Bushies. I think it's the Wall Street Journal editorial board. I think it's the cruise shippers at the Bulwark and, you know, some of the holdouts at National Review. I think that's the wing of the party that, you know, the Never Trump, the people that put their name on the Never Trump thing that didn't change. I mean, I think Glenn was in on that, in that issue, but he has obviously changed. I think that's who he goes for. And I think my brain says that if someone like Jeb were to endorse DeSantis pretty openly, I think that he may do DeSantis, but my heart, I just think it's a Nikki. That's his wing of the party.
If you're supporting Ron DeSantis for president like I am, pray Jeb Bush does not endorse Ron DeSantis. Yeah. Pray for that. Okay. All right, we got about a minute. You guys want to chime in on this at all in the time we have remaining?
I think Sununu will endorse Haley. I mean, he's had glowing praise for DeSantis' campaign, has said nothing but good things about him, but I think at the end of the day, he'll succumb to the pressure of the corporatist.
The heart wants what the heart wants. Yes.
Yeah,
Todd?
I think the only shot of that not happening is if he decides I'm going to wait as long as possible. I'm actually going to see what happens in Iowa first, and then realize that, you know, if DeSantis has a convincing victory, you know, there's a certain degree of inevitability that he wants to be a part of. I mean, that's still a politician's answer, but maybe.
All right. We'll come back. More of the Deace Group when we return, including the fascinating year in Tucker Carlson's career that has impacted many of us on the right. We'll get to that and more next. Last times I was here in, or one of the times I was here in Dallas last year, I got a chance to meet the folks over at Jase Medical. And great people. Remember, we originally brought them on board here, the Steve Deace Show, COVID still isn't over, particularly if you got that jab. With the data that is coming out, more and more is being revealed. Cambridge study, the data out of New Zealand, more and more of the stuff that got us banned and people like us banned and demonetized everywhere is being proven to be true. But they came on board after the original ascendancy of COVID because they were concerned about watching venerable medications now suddenly be called dangerous. We can debate whether they were effective or not, but to say a drug like hydroxychloroquine that had been given to tens of millions of people since the 1960s is now suddenly dangerous was ridiculous, if not something worse. And so they created the Jase case so that you could have a backup of venerable medications just in case, who knows, like for me, it's sinus infection season. So I brought my Jase case doxycycline down here with me just in case. I feel great, but just in case I'm down here for a few days and the sinus infection starts, I brought it with me. They want to let you now be able to customize your Jase case for your medications because you never know what the next medication is that's on the hit list and has to go in the current corrupt environment in which we live. And yes, by the way, you can have ivermectin in your Jase case currently if you want. All right, so if you want to get your customized Jase case so you have peace of mind, especially with winter coming and shortages here, go to jasemedical.com, J-A-S-E, jasemedical.com, enter the code DACE at checkout for a discount on your order. jasemedical.com. Discount code DACE for the discount at Jase Medical, J-A-S-E, jasemedical.com. All right, with our colleague Rob Eno. Rob and I are down here in Dallas. Todd and Aaron, you're back there in Des Moines. Let's continue on with our weekly look at the week that was. Let's get to issue 3, the year in Tucker.
Tucker Carlson began this year by airing never-before-seen video footage from at and around the U.S. Capitol building on January 6th of 2021 and openly questioned the narrative that the infamous Ray Epps wasn't a federal agent. Carlson's show was easily the most lucrative and valuable daily show on cable news. Then Fox fired him after settling a lawsuit with Dominion Voting Systems. Now Tucker Carlson is interviewing Alex Jones, a man who has admitted in court to being a artist. Make it make sense.
It has been a very interesting year. You know what? Let me go to the question. He started the year the biggest star on Fox, who was Trump skeptical. He's ending it as a sole proprietor who is now the biggest MAGA media personality around. He told Roseanne Barr that he has been supporting Trump for president since the raid on Mar-a-Lago. That was in August of 2022. I know for a fact that he told people just earlier this year that he basically thought Trump was a joke. He thinks that he said the jab is one of the issues of this era. He said across the set from the guy who gave us the jab and is bragging about it in the most watched video in the history of social media in that interview, never asked him about it. After he told Roseanne Barr that he's supporting Trump for president, he then did an episode condemning how we have too many old people and 80-year-olds running for office. Okay. In between these moments, he collected, I think, the most... And by the way, I forgot, maybe the best highlight, because it came right on our network, the Family Leadership Summit back in July, when he absolutely brilliantly destroyed corporatist rhinos that needed destroying. And that was Hero of the Republic stuff. And you can tell I've had a lot of... I am all about Eve when it comes to Tucker Carlson in the year 2023. I thought his interview on UFOs with the Tennessee congressman a couple of weeks ago was one of the most captivating interviews I've ever seen. So I've been both captivated and I've rolled a lot of eyes at Tucker Carlson so far this year. He's along the way collected the most eclectic collection of interviews on the planet, not just Alex Jones yesterday, but he went to the Tates. Traveled the world, and then told us we can't really focus and talk about what's going on in Israel because there's too much fentanyl coming over the border, but not so much fentanyl coming over the border. He can go to Spain and talk about that election. And this has just been a very interesting year for the most influential media personality, I think, on the right. So what do you make of Tucker Carlson's story arc in 2023? Rob, we'll start with you because you've in the past covered media for the Blaze, right? So what do you think?
I think that he is covering what he likes to cover. And I think that he has an eclectic interest in a bunch of different things. I mean, he went down to Argentina to go interview Milei, I think.
Forgot about that too.
I think
how much fentanyl do you think came over the U.S. southern border while he was in Argentina, do you think?
I mean, there was some, but I mean, I don't think that he can't sit there and,
I'm just not sure when we're allowed to talk about things going on beyond our borders because of the fentanyl coming in or not. Is there a trusty right-wing media guy that tells us when the proper ratio of fentanyl has been delivered that we're now allowed to discuss things that happen beyond America? Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I got you. I think that what he's trying to show is the rise of the populist right across the world, right? And Milei, I think, is an interesting one because I think he is. I have friends.
He's about to convert to Judaism, by the way.
Is he?
So thoughts and prayers, if you're running his social media engagement, about to go way down once he does that.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Who is, Tucker or Milei?
Milei is.
Milei is?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got people in that Bushy cohort we were talking about before that thought that I was crazy when I said I was a borderline anarcho-capitalist, didn't think that was actually a thing. And he was like, wait, that's real? Your crazy rantings are real? Like, yeah, no, they are. But I think that Tucker really is on a mission to just cover what the hell he wants to cover and doesn't really care what you or I
think you're probably right. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Or I think, right?
There is kind of a certain...
And I think that
Walter Mitty...
Right.
And
I think the Ukraine thing comes down to, should we be spending money in Ukraine to do that? Not just the talk about it, or money in Israel and not just the talk about it. And I guess, I don't think when he goes to Argentina or Spain, he's calling for direct U.S. involvement there, right? I think it's going to be fascinating to see what anybody says about the actual next ground war that the United States is going to be in Guyana and Venezuela. I mean, we're going to war with Venezuela by the turn of the year, right? I mean, we put troops in Guyana to stop Venezuela from attacking, and they're going to attack because 95% of their populace voted that they wanted to annex parts of Guyana. It'll be interesting what people say about that. But I think the Tucker arc is he just doesn't give a crap. He's got a loyal following that seemingly will follow him anywhere. I think it is interesting to see what happens. I mean, the one person on the quote unquote right that has kept his permaban and has been said that he will keep his permaban on X or Twitter is Alex Jones. And Tucker went and interviewed Alex Jones on his X show. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with Elon with that. But I truly think that Tucker, he's obviously starting a media network that's obviously going to launch at some point in time as soon as he's out of his contract with Fox. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. But I truly think that he is interested in a bunch of different things, and he's just having the time of his life doing the interesting things he wants.
Walter Mitty, Forrest Gump, just randomly showing up at things that may not necessarily be connected to some meta narrative, other than he just happens to find them interesting. And
I think that's what you're seeing with.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. All right, Todd, what do you think?
Well, it's all that, but it's not random. He's just doing things he finds interesting. But add to it, because what he's learned in his life, that has given him not only in his life the highest ceiling possible, but he has one of the highest ceilings of any Americans. Just think about this. After what he did as a wonderkind at CNN, he ended up over at Fox. He was kind of like your roving guy. He was just on different shows. He would fill in. You would thought like Tucker, that Tucker's just kind of sunsetting on this thing. He takes over for O'Reilly as like a placeholder, and he just says, he's that scene in Bill Murray and Groundhog Day. I'm not playing by their rules anymore. Along with what you said about what's waiting for him in media possibly, there is a very real possibility if Trump tiptoes through the drain drops, he could be vice president of the United States. And then after that, the president of the United States. That's not crazy. It's at least a very good value bet. And it all happened because he just realized the rules of this place are nonsense. You may think I'm crazy for interviewing these people. You might not care. You may hate it that I didn't ask Donald Trump these questions. But if it works out for him, he'll sit on his hands during those questions and say, I did. And he'll tell you later, yeah, I did it for this reason because look where I am now. And now I get to ask all the questions I want to of anybody, and I'm holding the controls here. Listen, look what he's done because of the way he's done it. Who can really argue with it on some level?
Aaron?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I had so much respect for Tucker Carlson, just not giving two poops about what anybody thought about what he covered on Fox News, one of the largest platforms, and it was a popular show, a very popular show, the most popular show, daily show on cable television. And he brought to light a lot of things that you were told you're not allowed to talk about. He expanded the Overton window on the right especially, but overall the Overton window, people would, if Tucker would bring something up on his show, and then people would talk about it in Twitter, he would expand the overall Overton window. And it looked like there was a chance. I always was consistent. I said losing him at Fox News, there was no way to spin it. That was a major loss for the right in the United States. But I said this could end up being a boon for him personally and could end up even freeing him even more to talk about things that are important. Has he done that? Sometimes, yes. But has he more or less just kind of cozied up for the sake of cozying up? I don't know how to the MAGA and the populist whatever. I don't think there's a debate about that. And I don't know what his goal, what his end game is here at all. I don't think he does necessarily. I think his end game, along the lines of what Rob was saying, is he's a guy with eclectic tastes and likes asking questions, and so that's what we're seeing here. I think that's the most benign kind of explanation for what we've seen this year from Tucker Carlson. A more nefarious explanation, well, we don't necessarily need to get into that, but it's just been damn confounding.
Let's go very quickly. We don't have a lot of time. Let's go quickly to what Todd just mentioned, because just so people know, that Todd didn't just reach deep within his rectum and yank that out. There was an Axios report, which frankly, whatever Todd's yanking out of his rectum is likely more accurate than what is being printed at Axios. Okay? But we'll go with it. All right. There was an Axios report about a prospective Trump cabinet. And one of the things it mentioned is Melania Trump, who I think a lot of people have forgotten is still technically married to Donald Trump because she's like nowhere to be found. But that Melania Trump is pushing Tucker Carlson as the running mate. Now, if that were to happen, I would forgive all the trespasses and disappointments with Tucker I've had the last few months.
You remember months ago?
I see them. I see the game. Hold on. Let me finish. Okay. I don't think there's any chance of that happening. This is the kind of stuff Trump teases and then does not do. All right. If the amount of blowback from the system and everything else, this is the stuff that gets teased about in media and then doesn't happen. And you end up with Mike Pence and Jared Kushner and, what's his nuts from Wilbur Ross. You end up with those people instead. But if it were, then I could completely forgive everything that's transpired this year, and I can see it. Now you guys may pounce. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So who would you rather have in Donald Trump's ear, Jared Kushner or Melania? I think I would rather have Melania, actually, in Donald Trump's ear. I think it's a bigger chance that Nikki Haley will be Donald Trump's running mate than Tucker Carlson.
I think there's absolutely a chance of it being Carlson, and I predicted it, you'll recall, months ago when we were first trying to figure out why is Tucker pivoting like this? What does he have to gain? If it's the vice presidency or a very large media whatever, that's how you would explain it. I think it's very possible.
Let's get to the exit question. Is there anything Trump could do at this point that you think Tucker would publicly criticize? Anything? Rob?
I think if he fully just turned back on it, I know his actions don't meet his rhetoric on the border, but if he just totally turned back on protecting the border and doing that and just said, now we'll just let them all in, and went back to, pre 2016 meeting with the Dreamers while he's filming The Apprentice, Trump from 2014. I think if he went back to that probably would be the one thing.
Todd and Aaron, what do you think?
No.
Oh, I
Yes or no, Todd?
I think there's many things. I think this whole agreement with Trump was conditional. I think Tucker has tons of leverage. He doesn't need Donald Trump. Yeah, I mean, to make his ceiling much higher, he does, but he's doing okay by himself. I think there's many things Tucker would walk away from.
Let's get to our kicker talk about quickly. If you could predict right now who's best positioned to be the next Tucker Carlson, in other words, threaten him to become the most influential right-wing media personality in the country. Just give me a name. That's all I got time for.
Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Or Todd. Both of you say Megyn Kelly. Rob?
I was going to say after our talk yesterday, Megyn Kelly on News Nation.
Okay. All right, let's get to predictions. Aaron, go ahead.
The Chiefs, for the first time in the last, 5 years, will not host the AFC Championship game.
It's crazy that they've done that 5 years in a row in this era of parity in the NFL. That's nuts. Todd?
The only candidate of the four major candidates, and I'm not including RFK or Christie in that, on the Republican side who have to win Iowa, is our guy, DeSantis. And therefore, I think there's going to be a surprise coming in the next 6 weeks, a pre-caucus surprise that could come from Trump or from Vivek or from Nikki Christie because of that math, where they are going to try to embarrass him within the next 6 weeks.
All right, Rob?
The Florida State Seminoles will beat the non-starters starting Georgia Bulldogs and declare themselves national champions.
I don't know how many Florida State starters are playing in that game either, for that matter. Okay. My prediction is that, and it's even, I wrote this before Hunter's latest foray, so it's even more buoyed, I think, buoyed by that. Trump will not be saved by either the D.C. Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court, and will go to trial next March as planned for January 6th. That's my prediction. I think that everything going on with Hunter, as we started off with, just to put a cap on it and bring it full circle, you're watching Operation Fig Leaf here. We now have permission to do, and they don't care what the Blaze or Daily Wire or Fox News or anybody, they don't care what any of us say. They only care about the normies, and the normies, they believe, will now give them permission to do whatever they want to Trump because they're going to do Hunter Biden first. Rob, good to see you, as always.
Good to see you.
We'll come back. Feedback Friday will be next. Stay tuned. Back here with Hour 2, live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. I'm Steve Deace here in Dallas. Why am I here? Because we are beginning the storyboarding process for more nefarious content, the Nefarious sequel series that we announced back in August. We're starting the storyboarding process here this weekend, so very much looking forward to that. Todd and Aaron are back there in Des Moines. Good to see you two guys. Good to see all of you as well. Let us know what you think about what we think. You can do that by emailing the show, steve@stevedeace.com, DEACE. Like us on Facebook, Me, and Gab. Follow me at Steve Deace Show on Twitter, Getter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can also, if you're a podcast listener, and there's a lot of you, please keep doing that and hit us up with a 5-star review if you like the show. And we appreciate all of you that have done that for us already. Also, hit subscribe or follow if it's iTunes for you, which it is for most of you. That way, every time we do a new episode, it shows up right there in your podcast feed every single time. And thanks to you that have done that for us, too. We appreciate that. This portion of the show brought to you by our friends over at Pure Health Research. They know that as we approach the new year, we start thinking about how to become a healthier, more energetic version of ourselves in 2024. If you've been dealing with low energy or you put on some extra pounds that you can't seem to shake off, the issue might be your liver. It's super important with your liver. It only takes part in about 500 functions in your body. That's it. One of the most important organs in your body. And it probably does more work than all the Democrats in America put together. So that's why you better be prepared for a better 2024. Not be one of the 1 in 3 Americans right now living with sluggish, fatty liver. You want to make sure that you're giving your liver the help, the boost it needs. You can do that right now with the Liver Health Formula from Pure Health Research. It has 11 powerful botanicals that help recharge and protect your liver. So go get it today and get a free bottle of their omega-3s to keep your heart and brain healthy while you're at it. Visit getliverhelp.com/Steve. Getliverhelp.com/Steve to claim your free bonus gift. Don't miss the chance to start your new year off feeling your best at getliverhelp.com/Steve. All right, are we ready for some Feedback Friday?
Let's do it.
Let's have it.
All right, let's go. All right, this one is from Dan, and you guys are going to like this one. The CDC called me with an immunizations survey today. I was going to hang up, but then decided that I wanted some revenge for what they put me through the past 3 years and decided to have some fun. Remember, I told you were going to like this one. They asked me a whole slew of questions about vaccines and whether I planned on getting a flu shot. I said no, not after watching how many people got myocarditis last year. I could tell at this point he knew it was going to be a rough survey. He asked me if I planned on getting a COVID vaccine, and I said no, as I know 4 pilots who can't fly now because they have myocarditis. He asked me if I had heard of the dangers of RSV and the availability of the RSV shot. I said I had indeed heard their propaganda ads that are running on the radio all day long, and that while it was an admirable effort, I'm a no. This caused him some discomfort. He then began asking me my demographic info. He asked what sex I was assigned at birth. I said that God made me a male, but I didn't know what I was assigned as the question didn't make any sense. He asked me what gender I identified as. I said that I agreed with God, who made me a man. He then asked me what my sexual preference was and listed off a whole list of nonsense like bisexual, hetero, asexual, gay, etc. I told him that I was most definitely normal and not depraved. He said that I needed to give one of the answers off the list. I repeated that I am a heterosexual and not depraved. At this point, he was thoroughly demoralized and was reading off his sheet in a robotic voice, waiting for the survey to be over. I had a whole bunch of fun with this. I think we need to start openly mocking these people for being so arrogant as to believe that they can defy the living God. Love the show. Hope this makes you guys smile. Show this to Todd, as it will be good reading material for him as he sips his vinegar. Todd is my spirit animal. That is from Dan. Thoughts back there at home?
Oh, you're my spirit animal. That should be another day that ends in Y for all things. I mean, going forward, this stuff comes up. It must be dealt with severe prejudice akin to what you just did. Make sure that there's a laugh track that comes along with it. Make sure you're having a good old time. But by all means, commence the festival, as Steve Deace would say.
Devil hates to be mocked. And mock him, yes, him, you did. Well done. That's not the only thing that we have to do, but that's a really good start for any day, is mocking the works and the machinations of the doctrines of demons and hell itself. Mocking it to its face. Love it. And we need more of it.
And it's biblical, man. I mean, one of my favorite stories of the Old Testament is Elijah at Mount Carmel, actually, Freudian slip, at Mount Carmel, mocking the prophets of the demon Baal. Is your God on the toilet? Is that the reason he's not responding? Is he going to the bathroom? Is he taking a dump? So it's very biblical. By the way, that reminds me, I got this text from a friend of mine today. I won't say what it was on the air. It might embarrass him. It's somebody that works in politics. He sent me this text with a book recommendation. Here's what he texted me with this book recommendation. You should read or listen to this audiobook. It's rough and raw like Lindsay's ass on an average Friday night, but it was written for a reason.
Oh my gosh. This isn't even the overtime. Holy cow.
Guys, we have some breaking news
Oh my
here.
gosh.
We have some breaking news, Steve. Nancy Mace and her fiancé have split up and are now fighting over a $3.9 million beachfront property with 6 bedrooms. Daily Mail is also reporting she's openly discussed her sex life in the office. Your thoughts, Steve?
That's Madam President to you. Madam President. Madam. She is that star. Hitch your wagon to that train. I mean, even if the Trump grift, even if it works out, man, this is a short-term thing. He's only can do this for one term, can't run again, right? So you got to be think about, to quote Jack Nicholson's Jack Napier in the first Batman movie, Eckhart, think about the future, okay? So, I mean, this is a short-term grift, right? I mean, I'd be like George Lasso in the moon there for Donna Reed and It's a Wonderful Life. I'd be hitching my grift wagon to that train. That's what I'd be doing.
That notwithstanding, just to be clear,
and now adding the personal scandal too. I mean, she's just out here dude.
Isn't she twice divorced?
She doesn't.
No, I'm just asking.
She's just checking boxes for political celebrity at this point, man. I mean, she's Ken Griffey Jr. She's the natural. She is the perfect fit for this era. Perfect. Which is why she will rule it. Hate the game, man, not the player.
Okay. Am I right about that, though? Isn't she twice divorced?
Sure. Why not?
I know.
And she's like 40, right?
Why not thrice? Did you guys see that? And I mean, she's showing off. I mean, she's 5 minutes from a wet T-shirt contest with the ample bosoms. I mean, this is. What does Caesar Flickerman say about Katniss Everdeen? Girl on fire! That's what she is, okay? With the jazz hands, that's what she is.
You're saying South Carolinians are not actually considering to write her in for president even harder than they were before?
Well, yeah, I mean, we got the albino that's all hat, no cattle. We've got the mysteriously unmarried senators. We've got the other one who's got a senator, the other one whose girlfriend goes to another school. They gave us Mark Sanford, who chased his mistress to another hemisphere. So and they gave us Nimrata. All right, so I'm just saying, the track record at South Carolina, it's a touch iffy. Just saying.
I feel dirty saying this. We still need to take our hats off to the Republicans in the state legislature for doing what they did with their pro-life bill earlier this year. That's the one caveat that I have. I'm not trying to burst your bubble, Steve. I'm sorry. I just feel like they still need some props from earlier this year.
That is, and hey, if that's what they ended up spending all their political capital on, they could have done a lot worse. So I'm with you on that. That was a good point of clarification for sure. All right, let's continue on. This is from Sarah Hanna. And she writes, if I can get my computer to work because it's locking up on me here. There we go. A few months ago, I wrote you asking for help with a fundraiser I had going to help get a vehicle that would meet the needs of my family. You were so kind to share that need on your Twitter. I'll be forever grateful for all you guys' help and the great kindness that your audience gave. I was just overwhelmed with gratitude. Back in mid-September, I was able to take my savings and a small loan from a friend and the money you guys helped me raise, and I was able to buy a new car. And this vehicle has changed my life. That's no exaggeration, just the honest truth. I can take my mom to all of her appointments. Her wheelchair fits perfectly in the back. Because of the heated seats, going to the doctor and the grocery store is pleasurable for her and not painful. I can take care of business involving my son also. Most of all, I can work and bring in money for my family. It just took some time to do all of the paperwork and get started doing a Lyft as a driver for them. And now I can provide not just time but for my family, but money also. And because of the kindness and mercy that your audience showed, now I'm also bringing in the money. And now I'm also donating to Preborn in you guys' honor. I made sure to use your link so that they knew I was donating because of you. And this month our family made their very first donation, and it'll be reoccurring every month indefinitely. Thank you again for your kindness. You guys are doing the Lord's work. Please feel free to share this with anyone you wish. Well, I'm sharing this with you guys in the audience because you guys are the ones that donated that money. You guys are the ones, when we shared that link on our Twitter, you guys were the ones that helped her and her family out. And the kindness that you guys showed to do that was incredible. And now you can see that Sarah, she's paying it forward with the support that she's given a fantastic organization like Preborn. Speaking of which, I'll go ahead and mention them right now while we're talking about them. They're an outstanding pro-life ministry. If you're looking for your year-end giving that a lot of people are looking for this time of year, you can do a lot worse than Preborn. They understand they understand truth and grace. You know, a lot of times today when you're khaki-panted and your pleated khaki and your sweater-vested pastor stands up in your posh suburb and talks about truth and grace, what he really means is we're just going to try to be nicer than God and not do either, actually. We're not going to do either. We're just going to fill seats, build a multitude, not disciple a nation. Preborn doesn't do that. They do real truth and grace. They confront moms in crisis who are considering killing their own children. They confront them with the truth, with that ultrasound that brings them the truth. They hear that heartbeat. They feel that conviction in their spirit now, because now they know. The talking point they were sold was a lie. They probably already knew it, but now the conscience has been convicted. And so they can hear that heartbeat, and it's not theirs. And so it's not their body. That heartbeat belongs to somebody else. And over the years, at least 80% of the moms who hear that do not go forward with killing their child, but they're still in need of help. This is where the grace now comes in. Now that they've chosen truth, this is now where they receive the grace. They need help. And so Preborn provides those moms prenatal care, then follows up after the baby is born with postnatal care, even counseling. All of this is done. The ultrasounds, everything. It's all free of charge, provided they have tax-deductible donations from people like Sarah and people like you and I. All right. So if you want to give right now, go to preborn.com/Steve. That's preborn.com/Steve. Make a donation today. You know, just a $28 gift will pay for, even with Bidenflation, will pay for one of those ultrasounds. That would you just blindly lay down $28 out of your own pocket for 80% odds of saving a human being made in God's image? A lot of you would, and a lot of you have. So thank you. Preborn.com/Steve, or just dial #250 and say the keyword baby on your mobile phone. Thank you, Sarah, for following up. We appreciate you. All right. Lauren from Houston writes, I'm 26 years old and my grandparents are the reason that I am a conservative. My Gen X parents were never interested in politics. They taught me nothing of their own values. My grandparents from the traditional silent generation made sure to instill conservative values into my siblings, cousins, and I. My grandparents are both in their 80s now, still working at their own company every day, as so many longtime Republican voters are. While they keep informed, it's mainly by Fox News, and some other more conservative outlets as well. There is a sentiment of denial amongst them and their friends about the state of affairs in our political system. I often attribute it to their age and the need to hold on to some remnant of hope that the Republicans are coming to save us and preserve the prosperity people like my grandparents have worked so hard to build. They want to believe that this country and their posterity who lives here will be okay after they're gone. The reality is that the elderly people in this country are devastated. Out of empathy for them, I want to let them keep believing things like Trump will come in and save us, or any Republican is better than a Democrat. While I still share values with these people, I find that my worldview is drifting further and further away from theirs. While I would hate to take away their hope, I also understand that people like my grandparents still make up a huge portion of the Republican voter base. This sect of the voter base needs to be informed and brought to reality if we have any hope of getting out of the mess we're in. As you said recently on your show, the only thing that matters is winning on policy. We are not winning just because Republicans hold the House. A win for Republicans is not necessarily a win for America. Our own party is a silent enemy. I know that I can't be the only person in your audience who knows and loves people like my grandparents. How do we communicate that reality to people like them? We must learn to communicate with people like them, because until we do, we're going to be stuck with more Mitch McConnells and John Cornyn's. Again, that's from Lauren in Houston, who also had some very kind words for Why Thanksgiving, Lauren. So thank you very much for that. Todd and Aaron. Aaron, you're in her generation. All right, Todd, you're the older generation. So I want to let both of you have a chance to chime in on this. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I tracked with every syllable of that letter, and it is a difficult thing when you talk to the older generations, because on the one hand, you're tempted to confront and maybe even aggressively confront some of the kind of out of step or maybe not understanding the reality for the present and coming generations. On the other hand, you have to have some empathy for the fact that they come from a different America, a different world, a different predominant worldview than what maybe you possess. And I'm not really sure how you thread that needle, other than when you have the opportunities, to talk to them, interact with them, being very, very consistent, and being very, very just within yourself. Because at the end of the day, if the way you live your life, the way you lead your family, if the things that they see you doing from the outside is not consistent with your stated worldview, even in the older generations, they will have the opportunity. They will have the opportunity to say, hey, they're just young people. They don't know what they're doing. I think consistency in word and deed is how you reach those older generations, because they're watching us as well, maybe with a better eye than anybody else, because that's their stage in life. They're concerned. They're paying more close attention to their descendants and their family than maybe anything else. You have to be consistent in your word and your deed. And I'll just say as well, there is a pervasive, we talk about cultural Christianity. I've seen this in the older generations. That's not just a newer thing. There are oodles, I believe, of the older generation that have gone to church, and when they come to St. Peter's Gate and they're asked, why should I let you into heaven? They would say, because of this, I did this, I did this, I did this. I'd say the number one thing that you have to, before you get to the worldview and politics thing, examine their soul. That's honestly the more important. That's the more important thing that you need to be concerned about. Because if there's not fruit on that tree, even in their older age, if there's not fruit on that tree, you need to be concerned about where they're going, whether it's in 5 years or 10 years after they leave this mortal coil. So yes, when it comes to politics and worldview, make sure that your word matches your deed and vice versa. But first and foremost, you need to be concerned about their soul. Because I've seen this in the older generations. There's a lot of cultural Christianity going on there. And cultural Christianity is not an all bad thing. There's people who have gone to church because that's what the culture does, who've heard the gospel. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. But if it's just going to church,
if it's the only thing, then it is. You're
yes.
right. Yes.
So be concerned first and foremost about the state of their soul. That's what I would say.
By the way, what is cultural Christianity by itself? What does that look like? The people on the right who lost their bowels when I pointed out that if founding fathers did not repent of their sins to Jesus, they were in hell.
Yes.
Those people. Yeah. That's what Aaron's talking about. All right. Signing the Declaration of Independence did not absolve you of your sins. It did not. So there is no ability to that wasn't an atonement act. All right. The only atoning act for your sins that you know for sure, what can wash away my sins? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. That's the only atoning act. Period. Todd.
Well, I tracked with that as well. You've heard me say multiple times, I spend time every day thinking about what you're thinking about. And from our position here, when we're lucky enough to write and speak and produce video like Aaron does, like how to say the same timeless truths, but in the way that finally hits pay dirt with you or the next person. That's the whole trick. I mean, really, Steve has been doing the same fundamental show for however long he's been doing this, and before Aaron and I came along. But to the degree that we do have conversations off air or brainstorm, like it's about like what. It's our theme, for the year. What is the buzzword? What is the mantra? What is the thing that wakes you up a little bit? That's very much the trick of this thing. And throughout all of human history, the next generation trying to find a way to communicate truth. I mean, you listen. This is not just a question for our time. This is a question for all times. And here's then the next thing. Even let's say you find it, it's going to work on some people, but a lot of people are actually going to hate you for it. That's biblical. I mean, that's the Lord. So even when you get it right and you nail it, the threats, it may get harder. The threats may get more. Listen, I was wide awake in choosing my kids started off in Catholic school. And for various reasons, and my wife and I both working at the Des Moines Register, and that becoming very unstable, we just had to make a decision that, at least for the time being, we were going to go the public school route after we got them through to a certain point. I did not go blindly. I was looking for exactly the kind of district, semi-rural. I knew academically probably wasn't going to be as rigorous in terms of being pushed by your peers. There were broken home issues that were more prevalent there. I saw all of that. But I was paying attention. Going to school, when this whole transgender thing, I had no idea. I was utterly, it was in the news. We were talking about it at my job, but I had not seen it in my district. It went from 0 to 100 like that. And I pay attention. My point being, I keep looking, keep thinking, keep discovering. Even when you find it, though, it's going to get harder. And as hard as you look for it, you may never find it. And it's not necessarily your fault. So that's just the mess we are living in. And there's historical precedent that every generation before and every generation since is going to have to go through that cycle. That's kind of the game that the Lord has put us out on earth here. That is the narrow gate. And there are rewards, but they aren't always what we think they are.
Now to a completely different topic. STW writes, in 1982, I was aboard the newest and last nuclear-powered U.S. Navy-guided missile cruiser, and 2 UFOs circled the ship for 10 minutes in a Star Trekian way, and our systems detected nothing. The USS Nimitz, USS Princeton event changed everything, as the upgraded Spy-1 radar was now able to see and track these objects. Once the data was captured and the numerous crew members from radar to air crews, it would be impossible to keep it quiet. That incident was leaked and became the first time that our government actually acknowledged these vehicles' existences. Any reaction back there? Total silence. Is this you guys? Are you guys giving me the Florida State? The cheers. I'm sorry, is this the Florida State at the Orange Bowl, or is this my show? Where people just walk off and protest? The fact you guys pulled that off, you had no idea I was going to read this.
Genius by Aaron. He just called. I was deer in headlights for a second and getting his directions like, move now! It was great, and gladly I did it.
That was very well. Of course, I have no idea what you guys are doing. I go to you, and it's silent. I'm like, am I off? Am I disconnected? And then the picture comes up, and the chairs are empty. That's very well done.
The bodies I want to see in those chairs are the alien bodies. Until then, that's our reaction.
You know what? You might be onto something, Todd.
I usually am.
You know what? In 2024, our official show position, we had to do this early in the Trump presidency because you couldn't trust anything anybody was saying anonymously, either from the Trump White House or about the Trump White House. Remember we had to do this? Where we just, I just went full ombudsman and said we are not discussing on the air anything that is from an anonymous source, either from the Trump White House or about the Trump White House. We're just not talking about that because I have no idea what is true. Remember we did this, right? Okay. I'm invoking my own ombudsman clause yet again. And I think this one you guys are, you guys are going to light cigars, I think. You're going to be so happy when I tell you this one. I like the Erzin standard on this. Until bodies of pilots are produced, we just aren't talking about this topic on the show anymore.
Hallelujah.
It's a Christmas miracle. God does love us, everyone.
I feel like I'm being trolled, manipulated. I think you're probing. I think you're This is an alien probe. What is going on here? What is happening?
No alien probe.
I don't think.
No.
I don't think you can hold yourself to this.
You don't. Why? Tell me why.
For the same reason we've talked about it on the show way more times than Aaron and I care to. It's too titillating for you. This is the same thing as your 12-year-old palate. This is your 12-year-old psychological palate. This goes way back to when you were just Stevie looking at comic books and watching this stuff.
But I used to heavily be into the Kennedy assassination, and I still have my own beliefs about that. We just passed the 60th anniversary of that, and we didn't even talk about it on the show at all. So,
okay, there's that. But
I think we can do this.
But there's more. It's this. I guess then it's also the same reason as the polls. You can't. This show can't not. And people have come to trust this show. Here, now look at me, damn it. You just gave us permission not to talk about this, and I'm actually going to, I think, argue into,
you're talking me out of it.
I think you might have to, because I think this is such an obvious psyop. Who else is going to point that out? And I think you're coming around to that increasingly, that this is like the polls. We are being toyed with. We are being played with. We are being probed.
I think we can... I think we can do this. That we will let us now commit that in 2024 we will strive. That this topic is not coming up on the show again
until Lindsey Graham has been probed.
That's going down here in about 7 hours. But no, I mean until we see pilots of these craft. We just have nothing more to say about this on the show. Because here's the thing: we've already covered this to that point anyway.
Yeah,
there is no other angle to this to discuss with the story anyway until that threshold is crossed. What else do we have left to say? Nothing. Well, there's nothing left to say.
That is exactly what was implied between Aaron's bit right there, that he thought of off the. I mean, really, why? There's no new news.
The reason I shared this was not to troll you guys. This is the first time someone in our audience has ever sent me a note saying, "Hey, I've seen these things, and I was in the military when I saw them." That's all. There was nothing behind it, just other than that. But I like this idea that next year the standard for the show will be until pilots of these craft are produced. We just have nothing more to say on the story.
What's the over/under on that, Aaron?
29 and a half days.
More in a moment. So it seems as if maybe things are a little bit on edge around here. Make sure you're ready for if we happen to go over the edge, or maybe another edge. You never know. And it's better to be prepared for something and not need it than to need it and not be prepared. And that's where our friends at My Patriot Supply come in. Get their 3-month emergency food kit. That's 2,000 calories every day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, even drinks and snacks. So the full 2,000 plus calories that you need of nutrition every day. There's more than a dozen different meals and sides and combinations that you can mix and match for variety. Stays good for up to 25 years with the right shelf life as well. And if you go to my special website, preparewithdace.com, you'll get $200 savings. If you order by 3 p.m., your order ships free the exact same day. All right, $200 off and free shipping, same day free shipping, if you order by 3 p.m. today at preparewithdace.com. Head over there right now, please. Preparewithdace.com. Once again, that is preparewithdace.com. All right, you guys ready for some more Feedback Friday?
Absolutely.
You bet.
All right, Amy Gay writes, could you explain to all of us who are unfamiliar with this bizarre set of circumstances, if Trump does become the Republican nominee and if he is convicted of a felony, would that disqualify him from holding office? And if this happens right before the November election, who will be the GOP candidate, the next runner-up? Amy, the answers to all your questions are we do not know. But if Trump is the GOP nominee, I can promise you the spirit of the age is going to make us find out. We don't know. And I just do not, I don't foresee, I think it's at least 80% that trial's happening in March. And I'm only giving them 20% odds they can put it off, just in case they, Trump and his team over there know something I don't know. Because as I see it now, they've got the judge against them. That she's already ruled against their appeal. They'll have the Circuit Court of Appeals against them. That's a majority Democrat panel. Then you got to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, and I'm not even sure they'd take the case. And I don't know where the votes are there. I kind of think if the argument is that you're immune to prosecution forever once you've become president, even if you're a private citizen, I don't know that any of the justices would vote for that. Even like the most pro-Trump judge on the panel, Clarence Thomas, I don't know that he would be comfortable setting that precedent, which means we would go to trial. So but these are the questions that they're going to make us wrestle with next year if Trump is the nominee. Short answer, I don't know. Bryson Kalamazoo says, I'm coming to the conclusion that the worst thing that happened to our movement in 2021 was not the Stop the Steal protest, nor the installation of Biden. Rather, we lost our way with the death of Rush Limbaugh. I don't think he was always right, and he certainly knew how to make money and promote himself, but he did serve a purpose as a unifying voice, even an erstwhile conscience for the conservative industrial complex. He was not a grifter. Since his passing, the number of voices flapping on the right has exploded. The listeners have become followers, and we have fragmented into intra-party factionality. To coin a phrase, strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter, is not just true prophetically. Rush used to call himself the mayor of Realville. I think you guys can now stake at least a claim to that title, at least a little bit, or at least maybe you're on the city council, you guys and people like Daniel Horowitz. It's so hard these days to tell each person's motivation on the right. Therefore, we got to judge their fruit, their actions. Can they learn from a red wave that wasn't, for example? Can they perform pattern recognition? Do they stand alone? I think you guys do that, and I appreciate it. Please don't betray our trust. I pray God gives you guys wisdom and strength to abide. Love that reference there. The dude abides. Thank you, Bryson Kalamazoo. And we pray we don't betray your trust either. We're going to make you mad. I mean, you're going to disagree at times. We make each other mad sometimes. We disagree with each other sometimes. But that always happens precisely because we're just telling you what we really think. Doesn't mean we're right. Doesn't mean we're wrong. Doesn't mean we're more righteous or less. We're just trying our best to be sincere and authentic. We're just really telling you what we think. And if you don't want to know what I think, don't ask. And if you don't want to really know what our answer to a question is, then don't ask it. Because if you do, we're just going to tell you what we really think. There is no other agenda here other than that. I just want to get paid for saying what I think. That's it. I don't really have another agenda other than that. And I mean, to even be considered Rush adjacent is an incredible honor. You know, I've pointed out before when my wife and I started dating, she went and got Rush's 2 books, The Way Things Ought to Be and See, I Told You So, because she thought that was one way to get to know me better, was to read him. And she was right, by the way. So, I'm not sure we're worthy of that. Had my disagreements at time with Rush. Never lost my respect or reverence for him, though. And I truly think he made his career out of just saying what he really thought, too. And we're just trying to emulate that. And we don't always think the same things he would have. People will send us notes sometimes and saying, well, Rush would have done this differently, and he probably would have. He was different. You know, we're a different era. We're different people. But like him, really, we just want to get paid to say what we think. Nothing more, nothing less. There is no other hidden agenda or a plan or anything. It's just that, period. You guys want to contribute to that at all, or are you good where I left that?
I'm good.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, this is from James. In 2020, I was a groomsman in the wedding of a friend of mine. He's no relation to me, but has always been like my little brother. He did not have a great relationship with his father, and so turned to me often in his teenage years. I was honored that he asked me to stand up for him at his wedding. In 2021, their daughter was born, and that's when things started to go downhill. His wife caught him on several occasions attempting to smother the baby. His anger issues escalated until she finally had to leave to protect their child. He showed no repentance, no remorse, until she was forced to divorce him because CPS said they would take the baby if she did not. After the divorce, he initially showed some repentance, but in these last months, he has become increasingly hardened. He has told her that they would continue to be friends, but he will not remarry her because he does not love her anymore, and that he is no longer attracted to her because of the changes that took place in her body while she was bearing his child. Weirdly, he insists, though, on retaining his paternal rights. To add to all of this, her own family cut her off when she showed a willingness to reconcile with him. She is in desperate circumstances, and because of this, she is dependent on his family, his mother, sisters, etc., to babysit while she works to supplement the money that he voluntarily pays her to care for the baby. But this is yet another unsafe arrangement, as his family is quite literally mentally unstable. None of us could have expected things to turn out this way, but I feel some responsibility, having stood up for him in their wedding and effectively giving my endorsement of him as a good and faithful husband. She is utterly destitute, with no marketable skills. They married when she was 19, and literally all she has is a car and an apartment with a bed. All any of us want, me, my family, and our larger friend group, is for the baby to grow up in a safe, stable home. I am still single. Should I marry her myself and just commit myself to raising this baby as my own? That is from James. Which one of you wants to tackle this one first?
With that, I'm like the answer you just gave about Trump and the lawfare. I don't know. You got something more immediate, Aaron? Because I'm still collecting my thoughts on that one.
I think if the question, are you a believer are you a Christian? That's one thing. Is she? Because that will kind of paint the answer to this question, don't you think? I would say if the answer to those two questions are yes, and you've already had it within yourself, you're already asking yourself this question that you ended with. The answer might just be yes.
Yeah. My pauses, I really wanted to find, like I just said earlier on a different question, the right words. When in Scripture, there's two interchangeable words that kind of, I think, surprise people early on. I know early on my development, but when you talk about the holy virtues, faith, hope, and love, instead of love, it's often faith, hope, and charity, which really makes you have to mind down. Okay, so what are we talking? Because our current version, what's love? We have no idea what that term means, even as Christians. Charity helps, as a Christian, understand what we're talking about here. Because if we think of charity, writing out a check, giving us some money, but true charity is loving all the way beyond your own understanding. You are giving with no sense of reciprocation. In a relationship like this, just on a day-to-day, even under the best of circumstances, as Steve has talked about in terms of what a marriage is, there are just the challenges. You grate on her, she grates on you. But we commit ourselves in charity, giving, without necessarily thinking of receiving on some day. And now you are defining that within a scope that there are obvious built-in hurdles, challenges, unknowns. So Aaron triggered what I wanted to say, thought I needed to say. Faith, hope, love. I don't think you can even answer that question until you define what those terms mean in your life, because you're going to need every bit of miracle that comes from them.
Yeah, this is tough. I think, modern sensibilities will say never marry out of obligation, but the reality is that's a largely mid-Western 20th century notion that largely did not exist on planet Earth. in any culture.
And based on the fact we get so many things wrong these days, it very likely isn't right.
Yeah. Yeah. Or married under obligation, meaning your obligation was to your family, something other than your emotions. Okay. If you want to research in the Old Testament, the kinsman redeemer law doesn't specifically apply here because the father is still alive and is not your actual brother, even though you articulated that relationship was de facto similar to that. But that at least give you an idea of what the heart of God is in these kinds of scenarios. I would, one thing, James did not tell us what relationship at all he has with the mom. Is it friendly on any level whatsoever? Because that child has had enough turmoil and trauma, to have to put that child through, a circumstance of the two of you getting to know each other on any form of intimate level in the midst of that, wouldn't make it easier for the child either. There's a lot of things to consider here, but let me just say this. The fact you're even asking or considering this, the fact that you think I gave this guy my blessing to this woman, I stood up at their wedding, put my integrity on this, and then watched what happened here, that you have the level of honor or integrity to even risk stretching it way beyond your own boundary of credibility and accountability. I mean, to me, I just think that speaks very well of you as a human being, and specifically as a man. The fact that you'd even contemplate this, and that's why I wanted to highlight this interview. I mean, there's no greater love than this, than a man would lay down his life for his friends. In a way, you're talking about doing that here. You're talking about laying down whatever plans you had for your own life in order to impact the lives of other people. And that doesn't mean, by the way, that this is the right thing to do. I don't know. I don't know the people specifically. I don't know you at all, James. I'm just saying the fact that you're even considering that it might be, I just think that, you're a unicorn amongst the penis bearers of this era. So props to you, brother, for even considering it. Before we wrap things up here, good segue to our friends over at Samaritan Ministries. Maybe you're deciding right now what's the best healthcare needs, and you're looking at the cost and you're thinking, oh boy. Well, Samaritan Ministries is a biblical, affordable way to pay your medical bills. And it's a healthcare sharing ministry. Samaritan members glorify God above all else and care for one another through prayer and encouragement. It's a way to align your healthcare with your faith. It started in 1994 with tens of thousands, when 10 households, I should say, began sharing one another's medical bills. And now there's tens of thousands of households across the country that share $30 million in medical needs each and every month. No networks. So when a medical need arises, you choose the healthcare provider that's right for you. You have a say in the type of treatment you receive. Send your medical bills to Samaritan Ministries. They'll notify fellow members to pray for you and send money directly to you to help you pay those bills. And when another member has a medical need, you'll do the same for them. This is the body of Christ coming together to pray, encourage, and provide. Burdens are lifted. God is glorified. So if you want to check out Samaritan Ministries, see if it's the right fit for you, join today. Let them know that you heard about it here by going to SamaritanMinistries.org/Steve Deace, SamaritanMinistries.org/Steve Deace. Gentlemen, final thoughts here today.
That was a wonderful way to wrap up Feedback Friday. And I think one of the first notes that we took was from someone who you promoted their need for, I believe it was a van, and they're now giving back to preborn. And in John it talks about I think the words of Christ. This is how they will know you, by your empathy. No. By your sympathy. No. By your wonderfully crafted message that will reach all of the suburbanites. No. They will know you're Christians by your love. This is how they will know you, your love for one another. That's a perfect note to end on, because it does speak well of the gentleman the actual man who emailed. And that was the point that I was making, is that if you're considering that, the answer might just be yes. So, perfect note to end on. Todd?
Yeah, and I simply don't mean to imply that you haven't in any way thought about these things before. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I'm inspired. I mean, faith is ultimately a willingness to step out into the unknown. I think without even coming to definitive answers, we should be inspired by what we just entertained, because you get it.
Well said. We're back at it again on Monday, noon to 2 Eastern, right after Glenn Beck, right here on Blaze TV. Until then, have a great weekend. John 3:17.